Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Tuesday, July 24th, 2018 at 16:35 in the afternoon Eastern Time. And here we are in all of my 720p glory because I was too lazy to set up the camera on the tripod. God bless us all. Now, my son just departed after a nice 2.5 hour, about a 3 hour visit here this afternoon, which is very nice, very much a treat for me. And we talked about a lot of things that we couldn't video because it was moderately confidential regarding the estate and some medical matters in his wife's family and his job in terms of new policies and procedures. And so, of course, he can't criticize that openly. Not to say he did, actually. And talking about other things on the horizon. I guess he has to start back doing stuff at school on August 15th. You know, there's like go in and do things and go in and then there's meetings and this and that. I guess the classes start about 2 weeks later. Not quite 2 weeks later. He says he'll be out one more time, and possibly bring my grandson out with him, which would be great. I don't think I've seen Carter since. I might have seen Carter Christmas week or Thanksgiving week, so it's been a while. Well, he comes out, great. He doesn't, well, that's the way it goes. Always good to know where you stand. Meow. Let's see. Well, they're going to go down for a week to Hilton Head Island. Kelly's parents either have a place down there or a timeshare in a place down there, and Thompson Kelly and Kelly's sister Amanda and her husband Ryan and their 3 kids. I don't know, maybe the 3 kids aren't joining him. I don't know. Are going to go down there for a week, and the Weatherbys, Kelly's parents, may not be able to join them because Kelly's mom is quite ill. So that's a shame because you don't want your mother, your son's mother-in-law to suffer, or your daughter-in-law's mother to suffer. You don't want that, do you? I don't. Further affiant saith not on that. Wouldn't be right to give any more details on that. Yeah. Well, generally the Weatherbys go down there. They often go down in February too. I didn't know. I didn't realize they sometimes went down in summer. Maybe they don't. Maybe it was just this timeshare thing. I don't know how it works. Anyway, they're going down next week to Hilton Head Island. I told him he needed to go rent a Bentley, and he could just drive right up to the gate there, in the causeway. They just raise it for him. They see Bentley, and they open the gate. Let's see. Well, he's talking about the whole estate thing about his mother's condo, or now his condo, actually, or soon to be his condo. Uh, and the various mold damage and water damage and this and the repairing and things. And uh, that's still an ongoing saga. And they told me some of the details about the auctioning off of Faith's artifacts. All done online, apparently, interestingly. Um, that was, I hadn't heard about any of the details of that. That was interesting. And then, well, it's dragging on a lot longer than he thought. Apparently, the probate court, in Ohio, in theory, you're supposed to have the estate settled within 9 months. Well, I mean, that just doesn't happen. 9 months would have been July 10th, because Faith died on December 9th of last year. So, anyway, I mean, it's just in general, I think my mother's estate took like over 15 or 16 months. I mean, it's no big deal. It's like, first of all, there's no other heirs. So it's not like he's screwing himself out of anything by having the estate go on longer. I mean, it's like, so if there's another heir than the executor, then that can sometimes be an issue, but that's not the case here. So he talked about that. And the potential of selling the place. Anybody want to buy a condo in Columbus, Ohio, down on Fenway Road, near the old Tangi River? Contact my son. He hasn't set a price on it yet, but it will be for sale. I don't know. He may. Well, we talked about him finally just getting fed up and selling it as is. So. Anyway, we talked about that. Only he can talk about that definitively. You can see how the video camera might have crimped those discussions. Let's see. He went up and helped his friend Rob cater this incarceration festival. And apparently that went extremely well, to the point that Rob is now going to be able to have his own, commission a new custom-built food trailer. And God bless him, too, for that. I hope that goes very, very well. Go, Rob. In-your-face sandwiches, and I guess it's like, was it gourmet, something, gourmet groupies are the words to look for. Go, Rob. Go, Rob, and his wife, Christy, too. Yes, absolutely. Now, sort of like, here is the more self-indulgent part of today. The more self-indulgent part of today. I read at the Sunday service here on last Sunday, which was the 22nd. At the 8 o'clock service, all 11 of us got to listen to me read the Word of God and lead the prayers of the people and help at communion. Although I don't have to say anything at communion except just, the blood of Christ, a cup of salvation when I pass out the wine. Now it seems that our rector and his wife had hired a 26th, anticipating an early end, well, not early end, but a final end to their interimness here, hired a 26-foot U-Haul van and filled it up with their household goods and drove it down to Florida. Now, excuse me, our rector had his own house that burnt down after a hurricane here a few months back. Because a squirrel got in because the wind raised the flap of the roof, and the squirrel got in and ate the wires and set the house on fire, and the house burnt to the ground. Some guy came in and just bought the vacant lot. So that worked out well for him. Now this time, I think his wife actually owns this house. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe they own it jointly. But his wife clearly has an incredible attachment to this house. Because when they first walked in, she says, "Oh, my house, my house, my house." Not our house or the house. My house, my house, my house. Well, and this is a very interestingly sexist couched comment. He said, "Well, women, of course, it's all about the house." He says, "Men, it's just a house." I got to think, well, I have a feeling that was actually her house. Because, they had been running this, or she had, or somebody had been running this for 11 years to various people. And they've been married probably just about 11 years. Or a little over 11 years, actually, because I think this is where, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so it seems they walked in. Well, they had been down there about 4 months earlier and told the guy, says, "Look, we're going to be down here soon because the church is going to get a new rector and we'll be down and you'll have to leave." And they've been running below market rates to this guy. I don't know, sort of like a at-will rent understand. Okay. Well, good for both of them, really, in a way. But this guy apparently didn't like that. And so maybe he was the source of what they walked in on and found, which was smashed microwave, motor oil poured into the bottom of the washing machine, cigarette packs set on fire and ashtrays like little blazing torches, cigarette butts tossed on the carpet, new carpet in the last year and ground out, and no person in sight. Nobody in sight when they got there. So apparently it would have been abandoned after all this. Well, I don't know. Was it the renter, or the renter, the pissed off renter, or was it like he just left and a squatter came in and just decided some meth head came in and decided to fuck things up? Who knows? Anyway. Couldn't get any details out of him about insurance and things. Well, apparently, the only insurance thing he talked about was like, the hurricane insurance took care of the roof. Well, these guys that were living in the house didn't have anything to do with that. They didn't cause the hurricane, presumably, unless they went out there and cloud seeded it or some damn thing. Who knows? So here's the key thing here. He says, this is part of his sermon. This is part of his sermon, by the way. He says, "I said to you when I first came here, I'm going to be here as long as it takes." Okay, fine. Says, how'd that work? Oh, he says, "I don't care however many more months it takes." I thought, oh, Freudian slip there. So I'm carrying away from that the two guys that came up for a field site visit decided they didn't want any part of us, or our search committee slash plus vestry slash total process uh, decided we didn't want any part of them. So I'm going to be very interested to see what happens now. Yeah. Well, we have to go back to another process of discernment. So that's up in the air, isn't it? So now the next thing that's interesting is that the recently concluded U.S. Episcopal Church General Convention has concluded. That's redundant, I know. I'm sorry. But apparently they've decided things about the prayer book, such as it is, and what was the other thing? Oh, gender neutral language. They want to get gender neutral language for the personas, the physices, if you will, the personas of the Trinity. Like how are you going to change the Lord's Prayer? Like, our divinity, which art in heaven. Yeah, it's going to really screw up the whole thing about Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, isn't it? And then what was the other thing? Oh, well, they were talking about the gay marriage thing, the gender neutral language in the marriage. Okay, well, that's okay, fine. Do what you're going to do on that. You've heard me yak about that enough. I don't, I think it's great that gays can get married, but I don't think you can equate that to what. On the other hand, I think some of these folks make just a huge amount of, like things called biblical marriage. Jesus had a lot to talk about. Marriage. He didn't talk about. He talked about divorce. He talked about marriage. He didn't talk anything about mixed sex marriage, same sex marriage. Well, because that idea presumably wasn't around at the time. But let's go back. Let's go back to the 1662 prayer book. How's that, guys? Get yourself a copy. It's expensive, but it's worthwhile to spend the money for it. That's what I use. If nothing else, for the Coverdale Psalms. Okay. Well, I've been watching Breaking Bad again, rewatching Breaking Bad, and I think I might go back to doing that here presently. It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you. Well, Breaking Bad and doing this. So I'll say bye-bye, YouTubers.